New crew, if you're new, my name's Cassandra. I'm a mom of 5, and we're hopping into a week on the homestead here. We are starting off with some apple jelly. In a previous video that I think it's called apple preservation, we went ahead and made some apple juice out of the skins and cores from a bunch of Wolf River apples, which happen to be our favorite apples. So I wanted to use absolutely everything off of those apples. So we went and put those apple peels and cores in my steam juicer, got about a little over a quart worth of apple juice. And we are taking that apple juice today and making it into apple jelly, a brand new product for me, but I'm very excited about it. I am picturing for Homestead gifts this winter to hand out a variety of different jams and jellies with a loaf of homemade bread, or maybe some homemade bagels or homemade English muffins or something, and hand those out as gifts to a handful of people in my life. So that is what I have planned for this apple jelly, to be able to add that to a little gift basket with some of those things we were talking about. And I think that'll be a really fun way to gift a little bit of what happens here on the homestead with friends and family. And a lot of our friends and family are also kind of in this lifestyle. So it's fun to trade things back and forth like this apple jelly, because it adds to their homestead shelf, it adds to our homestead shelf, but it also gives us ideas for new projects and things like that. It's a great way to try different products without having to make a whole batch of them, which is really nice. So that's what I have planned for these apple jellies. These have Christmas presents written all over them. This was super easy to make, super hands off, and I absolutely love easy projects like this. Well, the next morning was actually the youth hunt. My son and my husband went out and we got a deer. It was time to go ahead and process that deer out. My husband had gutted it and skinned it and everything the night before. We brought it home, and the next morning it was time to go ahead and get processing. The kids were very happy to play out in the bounce house. It was the last day for the bounce house this day. We told them we were taking it down that night. So all of our kids were out in the bounce house, bouncing around, hanging out. And Joe and I went ahead and processed down this deer. What we decided to do with this deer was to go ahead and just save the heart and some of the bigger roasts, and we put those in the freezer. All of the other parts of this deer, we decided that we were going to bring in and have sausages made out of them. We haven't done that in a while with our deer. We've been processing a lot of our deers down ourselves recently, but we decided to bring this into a processor with some other venison that we had in the freezer, and go ahead and just get a ton of venison sausages made, some venison brats, venison hot dogs, summer sausage, things like that, to add a little bit of variety over the winter to the freezers that we have for meat, because we don't have any like homegrown locally sourced sausages or anything like that right now. We are looking into Azure Standard for things like that, for a really high quality sausage or hot dogs, brats type things. But for right now, that's kind of where we're sitting, and this is great. I'm on day number 2 of processing some of the venison that we got. Joe just took off the roasts and threw them in some Ziploc bags. I also have the heart here. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that. So I am just going to portion out these roasts probably. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to put these roasts into a second Ziploc freezer bag, throw those in the freezer as is. It looks like he portioned those out pretty decently. And then the heart we're going to chop up into pieces, and we are going to put into sandwich sized Ziploc bags, and then put all of those sandwich sized Ziploc bags into a gallon sized freezer bag. That way we're not people who could just like eat the heart as is. I could eat it like fried up in a cast iron with mushrooms and onions. The rest of my family cannot. What I'm going to do is dice it up in as small chunks as I can get it. That way when we're doing like stews or something, or chilies, I can throw in just like half a cup maybe of that heart meat in there. It'll be really tiny. It'll be really really tiny. I cannot preface that enough. That way the kids and everybody will still eat the heart meat. It's so good for you, but it's a way to sneak it in, and no one's really gonna be none the wiser.
especially if you're throwing it in like a ragu or a stew or something. Texture wise, it's pretty comparable to whatever you're putting in there anyways, and it should sneak right on by. So that's how we're gonna do that. Get these in the freezer, put baby in her seat here, and get to chop it.
For this deer heart, like I said, we are just going to dice this down as small as we can possibly get it. I am also going to take the parts of the heart that have the actual like ventricles in them, those little tube pieces. We are not going to use those. I think the texture is it's a lot different. The bottom part of the heart, the texture wise, is a lot like a bean, in my opinion. The top, it can get kind of gritty, like a dirty bean, because it does have those ventricles in it and whatnot. So the whole top of this heart I gave right to some of the dogs, got each got a piece, and the rest of the heart I brought down to the chickens, and the chickens and the ducks ate the rest of the heart. But for this, I got about 4 or 5 bags of heart that have about a cup to a cup and a half of heart chunks in them. And then I will throw these into various meals throughout the winter. I do the same thing with our cow liver that we get when we buy a whole cow. I'll just throw a handful of these liver pieces into different stews and meals to hide them, and usually none the wiser. I also took the time to get my sourdough starter back up and running. I tried sourdough about, I don't know, a year or two ago, and I was not very successful with it because we did not like the flavor. It was very sour. So since then, I've been doing a lot of research on how to make my sourdough starter less acidic, when to bake with it to make less acidic bread. And I think I'm ready now after pregnancy and surviving the newborn stage to go ahead and get my sourdough starter back up and running and give that a try. We also took a day to go ahead and fill the Homestead pantry. I have a full video on this. I can link down below for you. But we made fire cider, fermented garlic ginger honey, and an onion honey cough syrup for the Homestead medicine cabinet heading into cold and flu season. And as you can tell, I'm already breaking into some of these. Yesterday, we canned all of our sauerkraut, and today it is on the storage shelf. I did not film any of this. We canned all the sauerkraut down by my in-laws yesterday, and it was 5 adults and like, I think we only had 8 kids with us yesterday, but we had 4 canners going, lots of things. We had, I don't even know how much it was. I think it was like 35 or 40 gallons worth of sauerkraut and crock pots that we had to do. I can read a room. The camera I had did not need to be pulled out during that chaos. But we managed to get it all processed and canned in one day, which was great. And it actually only took us about 3.5 hours because we had 4 pressure canners going. Some inside, some outside. It was a whole process. We worked like we had a really good assembly line going. Everyone had their jobs. It was working really great. So this was our take-home portion of the sauerkraut. We ended up taking home 48 jars. None of these are labeled, and they all have rings on them. So over the course of the next couple of days, I'm going to take the time to make sure I'm taking all the rings off of these and labeling all of these with the year, because we do have some other sauerkraut somewhere on the shelf. Somewhere we have last year's sauerkraut. I don't want to get things mixed up. So we're going to do that. My husband also built this shelf for me this morning so that we could put the sauerkraut on here, so we had somewhere to go. We also have some more empty jars down here, which is great. So now that this shelf is built, I can finish organizing things a little bit down here as well. But this is like our little homestead corner, which is so nice. 3 of these shelves, we got them from Sam's Club. So we've got all of our good homegrown things. We've also added some more things over the last couple of like, I don't know, week or so. We've got all the venison. We got some venison beef stew, some straight up just plain venison on the bottom. We got our apples added to the shelf, which is great. And my son carried down all of this apple jelly for me, and I told him just put it on any shelf where he could find a spot. And this is the shelf he put it on. He lined it up so nicely for me. So we're also going to get this put away. But that is kind of what the full week of homestead projects looked like for us this week. So thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with me this week, tackling a lot of random projects throughout the week just to keep the homestead turning, keep processing, keep getting things on the canning shelf,
and just like adding to just normal household, right? Storage and all the things that come along with things. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this week. I hope wherever you guys are, you're having a fantastic day. I hope you're crossing things off of your homestead to-do list as winter kind of is sneaking in on us here and closing that gap. And I will see you guys in another one. Bye.